Imagine you're sitting across a chessboard, 64 squares, 32 pieces, a game played by over 600 million people worldwide. World champions spend their entire lives mastering it. Artificial intelligence has used it to test the limits of human thinking. And today, countries from Russia to China, from America to Norway produce chess legends. But here's something most people don't know. The game didn't begin in Europe. It didn't begin in Russia. It didn't even begin in the Middle East. It began in India, more than 1,500 years ago. And the story of how a simple Indian war game conquered the entire world is far more fascinating than you might imagine. Because chess wasn't originally a game about kings and queens, it was a battlefield. A battlefield inspired by real Indian armies. And over centuries, it would travel across continents, transform with every culture it touched, and eventually become one of humanity's greatest intellectual creations. This is the story of how India gave the world chess. Let's travel back to the Gupta Empire, around the 6th century AD. Many historians call this period India's Golden Age. Science flourished, mathematics advanced rapidly, literature and art reached extraordinary heights. And somewhere during this remarkable era, a new board game emerged. Its name was Chaturanga. Now, Chaturanga literally means four divisions, and that name wasn't random. Ancient Indian armies were traditionally divided into four military units: infantry, cavalry, elephants, and chariots. These four divisions formed the backbone of warfare across ancient India. In a way, Chaturanga was a miniature battlefield, a military simulation played on a board. Think of it as the ancient equivalent of a modern strategy game, except instead of commanding digital armies on a screen, you commanded them on a wooden board. The earliest version of Chaturanga looked very different from modern chess. Some versions may even have involved four players, each controlling a small army. Dice were sometimes used, introducing an element of chance. Imagine that. A game that would one day become the ultimate test of pure strategy originally involved rolling dice. But the core idea was revolutionary. Players had to think ahead, predict enemy moves, protect important pieces, and coordinate different military units, just like a real commander preparing for battle. Over time, the game evolved into a two-player contest, and this version would change history. Now here's where things get interesting. As trade routes connected India with neighboring civilizations, Chaturanga began traveling beyond Indian borders. Merchants carried it, scholars discussed it, travelers introduced it to new lands. Eventually, the game reached Persia, modern-day Iran, and there it underwent its first major transformation. The Persians loved the game, but they adapted it to their own culture. Chaturanga became a new game called Shatranj. Many familiar chess terms actually have Persian roots. For example, when the king was trapped and could not escape, players would say Shah Mat, meaning the king is helpless, or literally, the king is defeated. Over time, Shah Mat evolved into the word we still use today, Checkmate, a word spoken in virtually every chess tournament on earth, a word whose roots trace back to Persia, and before that, to India. Then came another turning point. In the 7th century, the Islamic caliphates expanded across vast territories. As Persian lands became part of the Islamic world, Shatranj spread with them. From Spain in the west to Central Asia in the east, across deserts, cities, and trade networks. The game traveled farther than its creators could ever have imagined, and wherever it went, it adapted. Different cultures changed the rules, modified the pieces, and developed new strategies. Chess was becoming a global language, one that didn't require translation. By the time the game reached Europe, around the early Middle Ages, another transformation began. European players loved the game, but they wanted faster action, more dynamic gameplay, and so they started changing the rules. One particular piece changed everything: the queen. In earlier versions of the game, this piece was relatively weak. It could only move short distances. But around the 15th century, European players dramatically increased its power. Suddenly, the queen became the most powerful piece on the board. The game became faster, more aggressive, more exciting. and the version we recognize today was born. Modern chess had arrived. And the journey didn't stop there. Chess continued spreading across the globe. By the 19th century, international tournaments emerged. By the 20th century, world champions became global celebrities. Then computers entered the game. In 1997, IBM's Deep Blue defeated world champion Garry Kasparov, a moment that shocked the world. Not because chess had changed, but because the game had become the ultimate testing ground for artificial intelligence. Think about that. A board game born in ancient India, inspired by military formations from over 1,500 years ago, had become one of the key tools for advancing modern computer science. That's an incredible legacy. And today, India has come full circle. The land that gave birth to chess is once again becoming one of its greatest powers. Young Indian grandmasters are rising at an astonishing pace. Players like Vishwanathan Anand helped inspire an entire generation, and stars like D. Gukesh and R. Pragnananda are carrying that legacy into the future. In a beautiful twist of history, the country where chess was born is helping shape its next chapter. So the next time you see a chessboard, remember that you're looking at more than just a game. You're looking at a 1,500-year-old journey. A journey that began in the courts of ancient India, crossed empires, survived wars, adapted to countless cultures, and became one of humanity's most enduring creations. From Chaturanga to Shatranj, from Persia to Europe, from wooden boards to artificial intelligence. The world's most famous strategy game traces its roots back to India. And that's how India gave the world chess. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments how many of you knew that chess originated in India before watching this video.